Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 334th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson, Adam Smido-Smith and rapping Rob Kelly. In lieu of Sunday's pod, Hangouts is dead everybody, it has been discontinued, so we've had to find ourselves a new home, trying to make this Mixler work. Mixler.com/Boxing Asylum will be our home for the time being. We may move from there, who knows. You're managing to hear us anyway on YouTube, on iTunes, wherever you're listening to this at the moment. Let's get stuck straight in then, boys. It might be a bit hit and miss. I know people have sent me questions and comments and conversation starters, Bellew of the Weeks, all that type of stuff, but we're going to get through whatever we can. Andy, first of all to you, before we go over the stuff on the weekend, obviously there was a bit of breaking news on Tuesday that we weren't expecting. We were hoping to talk about Carl Frampton's fight in America against Emmanuel Dominguez this Saturday. Unfortunately, we're talking about a bit of a freak accident. These seem to follow Carl around. We know in the past his opponent Gutierrez has fallen in the shower. Now there seems to be, they were saying on the radio it was a coffee urn, but it wasn't. It was some kind of structure fell on his hand, busted it up. What do we actually know?
Well, I only know what I've seen on Twitter. Obviously, like everybody else, obviously other people will know better than me. But it looked like it was some sort of kind of pillar. Obviously, I don't know if it was concrete or if it was some sort of iron kind of structure. And I have no idea. But it looked like it was something like what, again, 6 feet tall or whatever. And that obviously it's not been secured, and somebody's obviously knocked it over, and it's basically come down top of his hands, smashed his fifth metacarpal, whatever it is. But he's a very lucky lad. I mean, okay, we're gutted that he's losing money. He's had to go through a camp and all that sort of stuff. Again, he's twice now the fight fell through. And again, we've got to estimate. He's done a lot of money on this camp, but it could have been worse. That could have landed on his head, and you just don't know what kind of damage could have done on the back end of that. But yeah, it's gutting. Obviously, there's guys flying out there that I know personally and stuff, and they're, obviously they'll have a good time. But you go out to see the fights and stuff like that, and obviously I think the card's still going ahead. Is it Jason Souza? I think is he?
Yeah, against someone called Rhodes. It's not great, is it?
I mean, what can you do? I mean, the card wasn't great after all, but it's just what is Carl only 32, I think, and he's done another camp. That's another hard 12 weeks he's done, and there's nothing to show for it in the back end. Obviously, he'll probably get. I'm not saying he's going to sue, but I dare say he probably will. He would be daft naughty, but then you've got to go through the stress of legal costs, and that's going to drag out for months unless he can come to some sort of kind of agreement. But it could drag on for a while, and he's still going to be out of pocket. He's going to be devastated. Naturally, he's going to be devastated because he's trying to get himself back in the picture for a world title fight, and was this set him back now? Is he going to get a world title fight coming off an injury? I don't think so. The fight we wanted to see, Valdez, he's got up in weight. I forget, Josh Wanton probably didn't want to say rematch at the minute. He's probably not deserving of it either. So he's really stuck in a quandary at the minute. So take him out there, have that happen to him. What is the plan now? Obviously, I mean, get healed up. Obviously, see if the hand's going to be holed up for another training camp if he still wants to go ahead with it. But it's a kick in the bollocks, double style to, because. As I say, it's full training camp, done your money, leaving your family for all that time and stuff, and bang, freak injury or freak accident, whatever you want to call it, and that. But as I say, at the end of the day, I know it's bad news, but I think for what I saw it, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have landed in his head and caused any other sort of damage,
Yeah, they were saying the thing, Adam, was that heavy, that if it had hit a child, it possibly could have killed them. I mean, they were looking at, someone said to me, £600,000 in earnings. There's going to be insurance flying about. Carl's obviously got this court case coming up soon. This is the last thing that he needed. He's going to be out for, you'd say, at least 6 months. Then he's going to have the tune-up, then move on towards the world title fight. He's not getting any younger. That said, Smid, the world title scene, the championship belts anyway, weren't really opening themselves up for him, so hopefully he won't have lost as much ground as we thought originally.
Oh, I mean, I like a conspiracy theory, me, Steve, but I mean, the evidence for this one looks, however strange the story might appear on the face of it, the evidence does look damning. I think I've been in a bit of a similar thinking of you, Steve, regarding Frampton. I think, he lost a lot that night in Vegas against Santa Cruz. And, some would argue that he might not have been the same fighter then. I know it sounds a little bit extreme, to say at the moment, but this really could be the end of Carl Frampton as we know it. because, like you say, Steve, by the time he gets back from injury and then another tune-up, he's going to be another year older. He's already lost to Warrington in a fight that he was favourite to win. How much is he going to have left in another year's time? But I think we are going to definitely see him again, given that his current ongoings from a financial and legal perspective. So he's just been massively unlucky, and he really, really has. You can hardly even describe what's happened, to be honest. But looked very, very dangerous. Really did. There's a couple of videos out there and stuff like that, and his hands are mess by the looks of it. And like Andy said, could have been a lot worse. But yeah, the saving grace is that popular both sides of the pond with TV companies and promoters and fans. But if he wants to hang around and he's got the appetite to do so, I'm sure that he will find himself other opportunities down the line. And like you say, Steve, the titles are quite busy at the moment. So he might not miss out on a lot if he's lucky.
Hopefully not, Rob. I don't know, what do you say about these things? They happen in boxing. That's all there is to it, really. I mean, whenever the news filtered through, I did feel sorry for the people who'd travelled over. I was definitely considering going over myself. Me and my friend were going to go. It was just that bit too expensive. I mean, we could have gone, really. If it was a world title fight, I would have pushed myself, but I just didn't fancy it. Wasn't that fussed on the opponent. And then a friend of mine went over, spending, well over £1,000 for him and his partner to go. And it is a kick in the balls, isn't it, for the fans as well? I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it is.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. Like, if you've spent money to go to the States and you're going particularly for an event and it just gets pulled, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just an absolute punch in the stomach, as you said. Like, it's awful. Like, so yeah, I mean, the Frampton, I wasn't that, to be honest, I was a bit like you. I wasn't that really that bothered with this fight. Like, be nice to see Carl back and get a tune-up fight, I suppose, after a Warrington loss. Like, but to me, I think Carl probably should have called it a day after the Warrington loss. I mean, lost to a young, hungry champion. He's had a very, very good career, very good amateur career, excellent professional career. Surely has made his money. I mean, if there's paydays out for him, I can see why he'd still go for him if he feels fresh. But I don't know. I think Warrington just took it from him that night. Like, and he was able to take it from him. And I think maybe 2 years ago, I don't know if he would have been able to take it from Carl. Like, it seemed to me like he lost a step. So, the injury's not going to do him any favours now in terms of being out and being inactive again as an older fighter coming back, as Smitho says. Like, so, look, brilliant fighter. I think he probably should have called time on it. That's my opinion. I wouldn't like to see him. I mean, I know there's fights out there for him. He wants the third Santa Cruz fight, and there's other fights there as well. The potential Conlon fight in Belfast, that'd be huge. As well, especially if he could gain a title in the meantime, I think it'd be a natural fight to make. But if I was Carl, I would have probably hung him up. But look, he's still here and still a very good fighter.
Do you think, Rob, that it's because of the proliferation of TV channels? Maybe Top Rank, like everybody else, like DAZN, like these other stations, are looking desperate for talent now, because I've said before, there's a lot of boxing going on. They need to fill slots. They need recognisable names. Carl, after Warrington, might have even thought to himself, might have to hang this up. And then Top Rank have come and said, he's a recognisable name. We still think he's got a bit of mileage in him. He still sells tickets and he's still able to compete at the highest level. Let's offer him a big whack and fill one of those name slots that we have.
Yeah, it's all getting a bit strange. You don't know who has a hand with who. People are leaving contracts, turning up with other promoters, leaving networks. It's all very fragmented. I mean, it's bad enough with the belts, but as you said, the TV situation now, with each promoter aligning themselves with different networks, it's becoming a bit of a quagmire. Yeah, I thought it was a strange one. I honestly, God, I thought he was, like I said, he made plenty of money, but obviously there's motivation to continue with that kind of money getting waved around in front of you. And Aram's guys seem to be doing well at the moment. Seems to be getting. The thing with Aram's fighters at the moment, I feel like, is like he has a lot of good fighters, but while they might be the best fighters in the world, all the best opposition are with other promoters and on other networks. Like, so, but Carl's not in that position. Obviously, there's fights there for him, but I feel like that's kind of the Top Rank ESPN relationship at the moment. You got Crawford there at 47, and Al Heyman has every other decent 147 pounder in the world. Like, you've got Lomachenko, alright, he has fights there, but you got Tyson Fury, and he's got nobody to fight. Like, everybody that he could fight is on a different network or just it's just all getting a bit messy with the fragmentation, like.
Yeah, Bob Arum saying that people have to come over to his side of the street to fight Crawford. Crawford said he'll be happy to move over, but he is the main one in point, and as Rob says, that's the way it is with people moving over. So I'm just getting a message through here, just taking my mind off things for a second. My mind's not off you though, Andy. Michael Conlon was mentioned there. I was there on Saturday night at the Falls Park. They said there was 10,000 people there, maybe a bit of a stretch, didn't look like there was that many to me, but then again, what do I know about things? Conlon got the job done. Diego Ruiz wasn't an enticing opponent. He was short notice. He wasn't better than the original guy, Nikitin. There was beef there. There was a story there. He would have come to fight. We know that much. Ruiz pretty much ran until Conlon got rid of him. And I think the funniest thing of the night, Andy, was Conlon's cornerman. No, not Conlon's. Ruiz's cornerman even jumping up with the white towel, getting really angry, showing a bit of bite that his fighter didn't show throughout the 9 rounds.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I'd actually kept a fleeting eye on the card. In all honesty, I was kind of busy Saturday night. Was it 9th round? I think it was. Kind of just wore a guy down in the end or something.
Yes, it certainly was. He battered him to the body, didn't he? And then he went down, and that was the end. Yeah,
so I can only just recall the kind of stoppage and that at the minute. I think what I did remember was like Luis Arias was the one. Big surprise, actually. Surprised at Caleb winning that fight. Actually, I think that's the only one I kind of really seen. But you're talking about now 4 days ago and copious amounts of weed, so my mind's a bit hazy.
Tell us about Keeler then, Andy, quickly. I predicted him to lose against Arias. Didn't think he'd win, given the fact that Arias had gone 12 rounds with Danny Jacobs. Thought he had the greater pedigree. Really pleased. Yep, that's okay. I'll just talk away to myself with the mic muted. It is early days, Andy. I was asking you about Keeler there against Arias. I'd picked Arias to win, given he had the better pedigree, given that he'd gone 12 rounds with Jacobs. Keeler's improved though. He's full-time training now. He looks superb, and I'm really pleased for him because he's a former guest of ours and he's a great guy. He put in the performance of his life.
I'm still trying to get used to the kind of settings of this as well. Jesus Christ! It was a very good performance. Very, very wide in the cards and that. I don't think he could have asked for much a stronger start, could he? I mean, he dropped him early in the first round, didn't he?
It was in the first round, then he hurt him again at the end. The ropes might have kept Arias up a little bit.
Aye, but I also think as well, Arias just looked like I don't know if it was maybe. And I don't know, but Arias to me just looked like he was knackered. But no, fair play to Keeler, man. He just he put it on him. Really good start, as you say, kind of really good ending as well. Had him stunned. I would probably say I don't know what you think about the scorecards, but I thought it was fair. You know, okay, you had sole judge stuff, which is kind of off-putting sometimes for some people and that. But I think it was that type of fight that Keeler probably did win pretty wide. What do you think?
I thought the scoring was spot on. I thought Steve Gray was a little pernickety with Keeler early on, but then he evened it out with Arias, he was a temperamental character, he was getting really frustrated, kept throwing the head in. And all, yeah, he deserved to get a point, but Keeler also got a point taken off. But I thought that Steve Gray's scoring, Andy, was spot on. I can't complain.
Aye, so say I've got no complaints either, mate. I think it was more on a worthy win. As I said, I don't know if I was disappointed with Arias and stuff like that. I think it was just more kind of surprised with Keeler that actually ran Arias, because obviously he was highly touted at one point, but it just looked like I don't know if he was conditioning was bad or whatever and that, but it looked like he was, as I say, he looked like he was breathing heavy. And to be honest, is he not a Bob Arum fighter as well? Because if he is, it's not like him to kind of send one of these fighters over to the UK.
No, I think, Andy, he might be signed with a smaller promoter, because it was when he fought Jacobs, it was DAZN, wasn't it? Is he maybe Salita or somebody like Peltz?
Is that who he's with? I think ring a bell now. Ring a bell now with Salita. I think that's who it was, mate. But no, as it says, it was very, very good performance. It says Arias has looked good in previous fights, as you said. One of the Russians kind of rings a bell as well. I think the Russian name kind of cropped up somewhere. But no, Keeler more than a worthy winner and stuff. But I forget if that's putting him in line for anything, mate. Is it putting him in the fringe of world level or whatever? I mean, I've not looked at the ratings or anything like that recently.
Do you know what? I could see him being brought in as a defence. As silly as it sounds, say if Demetrius Andrade needs to make a defence. You've got the John O'Carroll against Tevin Farmer, James Tennyson came in as well. You know, Andrade's defend against someone like Artur Akhvov. Why, if he's not going to fight one of the big guys, which we all want to see, why not bring Luke Keeler in for that type of opportunity?
I just think is Golovkin though kind of somewhere high up in those rankings as well. We're talking about 160. It's 160 we're talking about. I don't know if he's going to get bypassed for Golovkin. I think he's going to be kind of chatting at the door, trying to get himself a belt. Obviously he's trying to kind of, obviously there's issues as well with Canelo and Golden Boy and that, which we'll probably get into at some other point. But I need to look at the ratings, mate. But Keeler, is Liam Williams not running about that? I will be. If he's with Frank Warren, he'll be the WBO as well.
Yeah, you're looking WBO. Andrade's the champion. Luke Keeler's coming in at number 6. Gary O'Sullivan got pulled over for David Lemieux. I could just see Keeler being slotted into that type of opportunity.
Possibly.
Look at the WBO top 10, Andy. You've got Atlantis Fox as number 4. Demetrius Andrade had already beaten him.
Well, I've just pulled up the ratings at the minute. I see Obdi Sai. Is that the one that Jimmy what's his name?
Cox.
Jimmy Cox fought, aye.
God, what's he still doing around the scene?
Jesus Christ, Obdi Sai, yeah. My word. Aye, I just pulled them out. Liam Williams is in there. Who's this Patrice Volney? I don't know who that is. But yes, I suppose Keeler could get called, but you got Jeff Horn there. Hearn and Armour are doing business at the minute, so I think Jeff Horn's still be top rank, as so that's a potential fight for Andrade as well. But Keeler, I think, would probably need to pick up a kind of fringe belt at the minute and fight like say Stephen Butler or something like that. And what about Selecki? I know he got beat off, was it Jacobs?
Selecki got beat off Jacobs. You've got Stephen Butler, the Canadian. You've got Fox, who Andrade's already beaten. You've got Jeff Horn, who hasn't even had a fight at middleweight. So, I'm not saying that I want to see guys like Keeler necessarily thrown in at world level, but in the current climate, he's as deserving as anybody ahead of him on that list, apart from Golovkin, obviously.
Yeah, I would say so, mate. Probably, definitely, you say probably top 5. So I think, okay. I need to look at the records because I know Keeler's got the 2 Conrad Cummins wins and stuff, and obviously that fight as well. Luis Arias it's a decent win to Luis Arias, but I need to break down. I mean, is he more deserving? Maybe saying Jeff Horn? Yeah, probably, because Jeff Horn's never really campaigned as a middleweight, really. Selecki probably, and Butler probably more kind of in line as well. But I need to break down their records and that. But if you want to, again, we're splitting hairs here, and I suppose that as well. As you say, it's probably not the worst title defence that Andrade could probably get.
I think so. Moving down the undercard, Smido, I don't know how much you saw of this show. Actually, tell me how much you saw of the show, Smido, because I have a question which is related to the Paddy Gallagher fight, but it's about video replays. So tell me what you saw first of all, Smido. If nothing, I'll go to the question.
I'll give you a guess as to what my answer is going to be, Steve.
Okay, question from Simon Alavey. He says, Smido, when we see controversy like Chris Jenkins versus Paddy Gallagher, is there a case for video replays in boxing? Doesn't have to be anything too time consuming, but very simply, Howard Foster in this fight could have been told after round 8, Simon's right here by the way, into an earpiece that the cut was due to a punch. Another example, said Simon, last week in the Hooker versus Ramirez fight, after round 1, a 5-second video replay rules out the knockdown. He's talking about the one where they trod on each other's feet, and the judges are told to ignore the knockdown. Has he got a point here, Smid?
Absolutely. Unlike sports that we're going to see this season, particularly Premier League football, they are not blessed with a minute of downtime 1 minute in every 4. So yeah, absolutely, that's something that could be done. I mean, all the judges are doing in between rounds is taking 5 seconds to hand the card over to the referee, as far as I'm aware. So they could quite easily have a monitor that they can look at once they've filled the scorecard out, obviously. So they're not swayed in that manner. But yeah, over things like that, definitely. I think there was a time, wasn't there? Was it a few years ago? I'm thinking kind of there was some sort of fight in Japan, possibly that had some sort of video replays. I know I'm getting mixed up a little bit when we flirted with scoring, public scoring after every
open
4 rounds.
Scoring, yeah,
that seems to have died a death. But no, absolutely. There's certainly scope for that. Particularly, as the question said, in the Hooker fight, that's a world title fight. There's enough bloody officials from enough governing bodies knocking about at ringside or in the back. It's definitely something that we can be looking at. I mean, it's something that happens anyway in terms of replays for the TV, and they managed to get replays in. So a 1 minute break in Sky, you might get a 20-second ad, 20 second of the corner, and 20 seconds worth of replays. It's easily doable and something that we should be looking at, particularly things that are clear, like in the Hook fight with that knockdown. That makes a big difference, because it's a 2 or even sometimes a 3-point swing. I didn't see the Irish fight, so I can't really comment on that. But if it is something that's clear, and it can even a couple of rounds later, because especially when it comes to the cut, obviously there's a big difference there. Either if it's a punch, obviously it can be, and it's stopped by the doctor, you've got a winner, or if it's a headbutt, you go into the scorecard. That's a big difference. So yeah, stuff like that. Even a couple of rounds, even if it takes them 2 or 3 rounds to say, yeah, it was a punch or it was a headbutt, then that makes a big difference and can be rectified while the fight's ongoing, really.
Well said, Smido. Coming to you again shortly on the Dillian Whyte situation. Just before we bring in Rob, for the purposes of testing out, because that's what we're doing here tonight, we're testing things out. I know the boys won't be able to hear this. I'm going to play a little 10-second clip, and hopefully the guys at home will be able to hear it, and then we can move forward into trying to integrate this playlist that Mixler plays. So just bear with me, guys, for 10 seconds while I play this. Hopefully you'll hear it on the recording at home, even though the fellas won't be able to hear it. We'll know where we're going. We'll be moving forward a little bit more. Just 1 second.
You know what? Allegedly, I heard from a good source, but it's allegedly, so I don't want no one trying to sue me. But allegedly, anti-yard has failed a test. This is the talk that I'm hearing.
That was from Spencer Fearon. Ben will give me a shout to hear if he heard that one. It's to do with Anthony Yard. Some of the guys can listen out later. Did you hear that at all, Rob? Did you?
No, but I can imagine.
You're in for a treat. Spencer Fearon dropping some news about the Yard Kovalev fight.
Spencer fucking Fearon, Here, by the way, did anybody
every time I hear Spencer Fearon's name, anyone watch Arrested Development? No. Did you ever watch that? Arrested Development, the TV show? All right, okay. The joke is wasted. Let's go. Let's keep moving.
What I was going to say is, did anybody catch 5 Live with Buns the other day there? Basically, he says the people who put out the rumour about Oscar Rivas, it was disgusting, it was vile, it was uncalled for, and there's people. I'm quoting Bunce directly here. There's people within our industry, so-called boxing experts, to be keeping a very low profile. So Spencer Fearon shouldn't be giving these advice.
Who he's talking about?
Might be talking about us.
Yeah, possibly. Aye.
Well, if the interview doesn't stay at 7 minutes, Buncey's not happy, everybody. Right, Rob, let's get on to you on the undercard here. You can talk about Michael Conlon if you want, but first of all, points of interest: Podrick McCrory with the good win, Paddy Barnes, not really sure how far he's going, Alfredo Melli, Sean McComb with a good step-up win over Renaud Garrido, the Frenchman. But start us off with Conlon and then breeze through whatever you fancy, Rob.
Yeah, Mick, he's after getting a lot of stick, I've noticed online, for his performances. I mean, I don't think he's not going to be a one-punch knockout artist. Like, he's a crafty devil, like, and we all know what a good amateur he was with Commonwealth medals. You don't win a gold medal in the World Amateurs if you can't fight. Like, so I think it's been a slow process with him back and forward to the States. Transitioning with Booth as well is going to take a bit of time. He likes to kind of bond and work with his fighters and develop them. So I think he showed signs on Saturday night that he has the potential to be world class, or a top level fighter rather. I don't want to call people world class, but he has the potential to be a top guy. Like, the finish was good to the body, right hand that dropped him was perfect, and that guy that's had to look good against, as you said, like, late replacement. His shorts are up around his shorts are up around his neck because he doesn't want to work the body, and he's holding that high guard there, and he's not going to throw. His punch output was pretty much nothing, so it was just kind of a case of Mick trying to break him down. So he's not going to look good really against guys like that don't come to exchange with you, really participate even in the fight in any other capacity other than holding on. But he never been stopped before, so I suppose that's something. But I think Mick will kick on, and in a year's time, I think he's going to be a different fighter. In a year's time, with another 2 fights maybe under his belt, I think after that performance, he's coming out. There's a lot of pressure on Conlon as well. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know if it permeates as much in the UK, but like, he's a star in Belfast, as you know, Steve, from living up the north there. Like, he's a star there. He can draw a big crowd over there. But as well as that, he has the drawing potential in New York and the East Coast. So they've booked out the MSG for him like 4 years in advance after his opening there, where he actually sold the place out like fighting nobody. So there is a lot of pressure on him to live up to what people are kind of following him for. Like, you know, when a fighter has a huge following, there's big pressure on his shoulders to deliver. And I think he's been struggling with that over the last couple of performances. I think he's quite conscious of the position he's in, and you know, I think he's kind of focusing more on giving good performances now. I know he's been frustrated a couple of times when he didn't look as good, but you can't look good every time, and especially on the way up when you're after coming with the amateur pedigree and the Olympics and everything. You know, everybody knows you already. They're expecting you to burst into the pros. Like, it doesn't always work like that. I remember saying this 2 years ago about Mick. I was like, just let him have his. Everyone's not Lomachenko. Like, you can't just turn pro and start fighting for world titles. You have to learn the pro game too. Yeah. It's a lot different. He would have come from the scoring system, Mick. So they only really changed the head guards at the very end of his reign as an amateur fighter. His whole amateur background would have been with head guards and point scoring. So you have to learn that. Like, and he's been on the road. He's been over in the States, back here in Belfast. I think he can do it. Some people might disagree with me and think he's not, but I'd say in a year's time we give Warrington a good fight. And I think, obviously, Frampton is another year older. I think in his prime, I don't know, this version of Mick mightn't have beaten that version of Carl, but I think now if you're going to get Frampton, you're getting him at the right time in a year's time. So that's a massive fight in Belfast as well. Like, I don't know if it's one I necessarily want to see. I think I prefer to see him.
I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think they're going to make it, Rob, to be honest.
No, Warrington is the one really for him if he's going that route. I think Bob Adams made it clear he doesn't think he can hang with Shakur. Yeah, he kind of made it clear that, well, Bob doesn't give a fuck. Like, does he? At his age, he's going to say whatever. Like, but he doesn't really. At his stage, he's just calling it as he sees it. He thinks Shakur Stevenson to beat Mick. I always thought Mick could have. I think if anyone could get in Shakur Stevenson's head, they could beat him. I think he's shown extreme signs of petulance online and out of the ring. And I don't think he'd be that hard to break mentally for a fighter. I think you could really rattle his cage. Like, but Bob obviously thinks differently, and he's hoping that Shakur moves up. Like, so maybe the plans is not to have. I always thought they were on a head-on collision to meet in the pros. Like everyone thought they'd meet in that Olympics. So I think the story was there to sell that fight. But Bob obviously has other plans. Like.
So just to answer Max Stokes' question then, Rob, he says about Mick Conlon, great boxer but zero power. When is he going to step it up? Are we looking over the next year to start picking up real, top five win maybe and push on towards a vacant belt or something?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that's where they're headed with him. And a year to 18 months to be looking to move him towards a world title, I'd say. But there's a lot of variables there. Like, there's tough guys there that won't go away. There's people that can make you look bad. There's potential like losing TV deals. There's all kinds of variables there. Like, but I think around 18 months' time, you could expect if they both stay winning to see Conlon versus Warrington.
Conlon versus Warrington, says Rob. You're listening to episode 334 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. That was Rob Kelly, Adam Smith with us as well, Andy Patterson. I'm Steve Wellings. A few more points of interest, Bellew of the Weeks. A couple more questions and we'll get out of here. We'll keep on rolling, everybody, on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum for the time being. Over to you then, Smido. I'm sure you're not interested in Julius Indongo, who got a good win over the one and only Carltavius Jones-Johnson, 4-1.
That's a name.
Alabama.
That is a name. Is he related to Ebenezer?
Not that I'm aware of, but we should. Never mind Jack Smith. We could have had Carltavius Jones Smith.
Could have, yeah.
Anyway, let's go on to Anthony Fowler then. Max Stoke threw in another question for you, Smido. Obviously talking about Fowler after his points win over Brian Rose on Friday night. He said, Dave Caldwell's guys could never be accused of drug taking. Fowler is in great nick, but has stamina issues. His footwork is horrendous and slower than Joe Joyce. Overstated power. Will he venture past British level, says Max? I doubt it.
Well, so far the evidence suggests no. He's obviously, you've got to give him a tad bit of credit because he's come straight into this fight of his first loss that he definitely didn't expect to lose. Neither did his trainer or Sky. But then again, Brian Rose is some way past his best, and I was a fan of him at his peak, but his peak wasn't brilliant. I'm happy to admit that. I don't know. I think Fowler fought as if he thought he was going to get him out of there pretty comfortably, and after 3 or 4 rounds, like you say, Steve, of throwing some biggish punches and burning a lot of gas, he realised that wasn't going to happen, and then he started to pace himself, I think, and manage the fight from there. But I think that Rose definitely finished the stronger in terms of rounds 8, 9, and 10. Fowler probably definitely took the last. It was a decent enough finish to it, though. I mean, the only problem Rose had throughout, and we knew this beforehand, don't get me wrong, is that he just didn't have the power to stop Fowler doing what he wants. And Fowler, being the younger man, was more active, more aggressive. I thought he jabbed well early doors, Fowler, but then that kind of went out the window, very early doors. But then that kind of, like I say, went out the window when he went for it in kind of 3 and 4, tried to put the pedal to the metal and kind of failed, if you like. Rose's face didn't fall apart as much as I was expecting. He's still got that nose that is difficult to describe how bad it is. I don't know what. Which fight did he bust it? Oh, it was Carson Jones, wasn't it? He got beat up by Carson Jones, and his nose has not been the same since then. Well, that was nearly 4 years. That was over 4 years ago. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, we know what Rose is. I mean, probably the after the on the apron interview was nearly as entertaining as the fight, to be honest, because Anthony Fowler said a couple of things which was interesting. He advised Brian Rose not to retire because he can still win belts. He said that this version of Brian Rose would beat Scott Fitzgerald. I don't know how on what basis he can say that anyone would beat Mad Dog Scott when Fowler was beat by him. I thought that was absolutely nonsensical. But yeah, he's one of them where he fancies himself as a puncher, and he's I think he's going to be found out not to be one when he steps up. And his last 2 opponents have been a step up from his original 8, and he's not really. He's gone the distance with both. I mean, some would argue, not on the scorecards but as you was watching it, if there was another 2 rounds in that fight on Friday, if it was a 12-round fight, you might have fancied it to be pretty close on the scorecard. As it turns out, even if it was a 12-round fight and Rose would have won, then Fowler would have still got it on the cards. But that's by the by. I don't know where he's going to end up next. It was just a little bit comedy, given that this was apparently called a next-gen show, and we had 28-year-old Fowler against a 30-something-year-old Brian Rose, 34. So I don't know how you can class that as next gen, to be honest, but that's just that is where we are in.
Should be last gen, maybe, Smido. Last gen.
Well, yeah, I mean we've had Lee Wood headlining next gen. I like him. Went to the same school as him, but he's older than me. So I don't really know how that's next gen. On the undercard, we saw Lewis Ritson blow someone away. It was shit. It was against just some idiot. I think Ritson's got problems on his hands. He was blowing through people in fantastic style, and people like me were on board. We know the names: Joe Murray, Scott Cardle, people like that. Paul Haywood, Highland, smashing people, and then come unstuck against that Patera. I don't think he's going to forget that. So. It's difficult to explain. Like the Ritson of that run in 2018, which was excellent, and he probably had that year to be called Domestic Fighter of the Year, or definitely Most Improved, or Off the Radar if I'm making up awards now. But I thought it was excellent that year. But I think it's going to be difficult for him to forget what happened against Patera. And what happened against Patera was he was shown up for his boxing skills. He ain't going to have boxing skills. I don't think you're going to teach Lewis Ritson boxing skills. You need to let him be what he is, and if he gets beat a couple of times along the way, then so be it. But he's going to be an entertaining fight. But I think he's going to get caught between his old self and his new self, and I don't think that's going to work well for him in the future. They're bigging up some fight for him, and who was also on the undercard, that Robbie Davis Jr. He also fought an absolute Tim Tomato can, so that was a waste of time. But they had a bit of IFL TV inspired beef in the back, in front of the Sky cameras, where the word melt was used in an aggressive manner by a Scouser. I know a lot of Scousers, and I'm married to one. They should not be using the word melt as some sort of insult to people. Leave that to people from Essex, for God's sake. Fucking melt. I think that was pretty much all I saw. They had that big lad that big heavyweight, I think, on the undercard somewhere. That Martin Bacoli just.
Oh, Bacoli, yeah.
Yeah, waste of time. Yeah, complete waste of time.
Really? You think he's a waste of time, Smith? He can't make things interesting at domestic now?
No, I think the fight was a waste of time. I think his career or his immediate future ain't going to be a waste of time. I think could be quite interesting given the amount of heavyweights that Mr. Hearn has at his disposal. But where's Bacoli going to fit into that? I don't know. He got shown up bad, didn't he, man? He got shown up bad against Hunter. He basically tried to quit. But just looking at his box rec, you do have to give him credit for the next time going in with whack as an underdog. That's kind of gone under the radar because it happened in Poland. So he's got something to offer, but he obviously ain't getting any younger. I mean, we don't even know how old he is. How old's Martin Bacoli?
I want to say in his late 20s. Let's see.
I think there could be a difference between his box rec age and his birth certificate age. Original birth certificate age.
Yeah, you think he could have been buying birth certificates from the Luis Ortiz birth certificate factory?
Possibly busy old factory. The last thing I will say on this card, Steve, is that Brian Rose has got one of the best profile pictures on BoxRec going. Check it out, folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at that now. Bacoli hasn't got a date of birth, so maybe that. Oh yeah, that's nice, isn't it? That looks well.
Yeah, Brian Rose looks fit there, doesn't he?
It does. It looks well now, and they're adding little Twitter handles in as well.
Yeah,
maybe we can get your. What's your Twitter handle, Smido?
@Smido11, SMIDO11.
There we go, everybody. Right, there's a chat. We have a chat, everybody. Boxing News TV. Kais, Ashfaq and Martin Bacoli should have been on Sky rather than Facebook. Ritson and Robbie Davis on Sky against Tin Cans was ridiculous. Absolutely. Kais, Ashfaq told me after he was promised live Sky if he took the Davis fight. So that's good for Mr. Ashfaq there, Boxing News TV. Keeping us up to date in the chat. Maybe you can join us in the chat in the future if you so wish. Andy, you're here with us still, which is excellent news. Anthony Fowler, Brian Rose. Ritson against Davis, they're talking that up, aren't they, with a bit of beef at the moment. But also Sean McGoldrick was on that card. We thought this might be a bit of a live one for him against Thomas Asomba, who we've seen in action in the past. Max Stoke is saying that Sean McGoldrick needs to hang them up at the moment. But I'll tell you who else he thinks needs to hang them up. He said, is it time for Curtis Stevens, Andy, to retire, blasted out by Wally Omatoso in 3 rounds over in America, Saturday night? Is he done?
Absolutely. I mean, what is he now, 34 or something like that, and he's coming down in weight as well. You know, his chances at middleweight weren't great. He's made himself into light middleweight. That was a good swerve, that, Steve. That Omatoso guy. I mean, Jesus, anytime he touched Stevens, he just couldn't hold it. I mean, jabs were hurting him. He was down in every single of the rounds that he was fighting in. It's time for him to end it. It's really time for him to end it. I mean, I don't know if it was some sort of kind of elimination fight as well. I think there's some sort of belt on the line for what I recall it. But I'm actually glad to see him losing that, because he actually irritated the fuck out of me when he got that Golovkin fight and he appeared up when his homies and that with the video on the graveside and that, on the side of the street with the praying sign and that. And I'll never forget when Golovkin landed that left hook and he's sitting there and he's got that look like oh shit balls moment and stuff like that. That was tremendous. And to see him go out there, like that on Saturday night was absolutely tremendous. I mean, I actually stayed up for a wee bit later on Saturday night. It was one of the fights I'd stayed up and watched. And it was, as I say, it was just absolutely brilliant. I knew nothing about what's his name again? Omatoso coming in. Absolutely,
he's a veteran, isn't he? He's been around for a while, I think, Andy.
Well, I had a look at his record and stuff. I mean, I know he's been with Vargas, Jesse Vargas, Jamal James. I think he's kicking around about still, and I can't remember the other one. But he just, to be honest, I never really kind of saw him kind of like do anything like that. To be honest, I can't even recall seeing him before. But he was, he took his chance. If you look at his record, 28-4, 22 knockouts, never been stopped, right? Look at it. He seems to have been beat any time he stepped up in class. Sammy Vasquez, I don't know about this Cordell Booker.
Yeah, Cordell Booker looked good against him, Andy. That's worth a watch. He's going to be one to watch, I think, Booker.
I just pulled up his record. He's 28, so I need to go and check him on that. But he says he's always seems to have kind of lost fights when he stepped up in class a wee bit, or he's maybe went into America, shall we say? Maybe he's been fighting the house fight or whatever, and that, and he's just needed an opportunity, and he's took it with both hands. I mean, 34 years of age, WBO. I don't know if he'll get the mandatory call. What is it? I like middleweight and stuff. So. I just put up the rankings with WBO.
He's a tough guy, isn't he? He's a tough guy. He loses to the best, and he'll beat you if you're not on form.
Yeah, basically that's it. Or if you're washed, or if you're looking for opportunities and you think you can come down and boil yourself down in weight. He's a big dude for the weight, for a light middleweight. He's 5'10", 5'11", big heavy dude like.
And as for the main event, the two big fat lads threw about 2,000 punches. Max Stoke again on fire with the questions this week, Andy. He says Chris Arreola against Adam Kovnacki. The punch output was very high considering their body shape. Have they been eating Polish delicacies and Mexican beef? It was a drab second half, despite Fight of the Year comments by some outlets. I don't think it was Fight of the Year material because it was too samey. But the fact that these two guys threw so many punches, I mean, it was like a blown up Selecki against Mikey Garcia who'd eaten too many pies, I thought, judging by the two of them.
I done pretty good viewing figures on that as well. I actually switched it off after 7 rounds and stuff. I think it was just like when Big Nips hurt his hand or something, or broke his hand. It was, as you say, it was just like two slabbering behemoths who were just fucking, we knew what Big Nips was all about at this point. We're talking about a guy who, again, one of those who wasted his prime, just been too fat and out of shape, and ate himself. He just kind of left it too late to get serious stuff. And Kovnacki as well. I mean, okay, he's a decent fighter and stuff, but I just, again, it's wrong to say after what happened with Andy Ruiz, for example, but guys like that, you struggle to take it seriously until they actually turn around and do what they did to Joshua, for example, so, but, yeah, Kovnacki did what he had to do, he's to be honest, actually, I had a bad weekend with the predictions and stuff, because I need to go and pull him up again and that, but I had Conlon to win by stoppage, I got that one right. Pascal I picked to get beat, and then I had this fucking fight. Who do I have now? I had Big Nips to get knocked out, because I thought basically he was fat, out of shape, old, nothing left, and Kovnacki was like, I suppose kind of like basically in his prime. He's 30-year-old heavyweight I think now, so should be in his prime. I expect him to kind of knock him out in the end, but he didn't do it, and that's a bit disappointed. But as I say, I gave up after 7 rounds and stuff like that. I just didn't kind of keep my interest for much. But I did like the Pascal fight.
Yeah, I was surprised, Andy. I was starting to get on board with Brown. I mean, as far as much as you can get on board with a sort of, girlfriend beater, he was starting to look pretty decent, and maybe it says a lot about Badu Jack being finished, of the way he destroyed him. I thought, this guy looks like he's going places.
It was, and to be honest, at times it was hurting Pascal. I mean, there were a couple of times in that fight I thought that he either stood Pascal up, basically either that or made him back off, or he dipped him a little bit, at least 3 or 4 times in that fight. But Pascal is okay. He's nowhere near his prime in that. He'd been a wee bit more active and he'd be throwing more well shots and stuff. But the well shots he did throw connected. That left hook, it was pretty emphatic. And to be honest, I'm kind of pleased for Pascal, but I'm not at the same time, because that's going to give him some leverage. That's going to give him some belief, which okay, good for him. It's going to get him another big payday and stuff like that. But that guy's been in the ring probably a wee bit too long. He's took a wee bit too much punishment, and he's had a few nagging injuries in the past and that as well. But fair play to him coming back, beating a guy who's, I would say, close to his prime as well. The old dog and stuff like that. But hopefully it doesn't go on after this. Hopefully he retires.
Hopefully so. Okay, final discussion point then, gentlemen, before we go on to Value of the Weeks and finish up for episode 334. Has he, hasn't he, Smido? Where is the B sample? Has Mr. Dillian White been on this Diana Ball, which is a brand name, by the way, to tablet? Has he been taking it? That's the question. Toby Hines, Smido, has weighed in on this with some analysis for you to go over. So let's have a listen what Toby said. He said, first of all, fuck all the smoke Matchroom is throwing up in the air to make clouds. Simply put, a bottle was put into Dillian White's hand, he dropped his dick into it and pissed into it. It was sealed, sent to a lab examined it, they found Dianabol, end of. But passing VADA is being used to cast doubt on a failed UCAD test, Smido. It should be the other way round, says Toby. A failed UCAD test should raise questions over past VADA tests. So further, the fact he was tested throughout camp by VADA and not caught when we know he used PEDs suggests it is easy to use PEDs and passed VADA tests. So finally, further again, the bigger picture, remind me, says Toby, why we are to believe AJ is clean? Oh yes, because he pays and passes VADA tests. What do you think about that then, Smid?
Well, it's similar to numerous other issues and things within my life and my boxing fandom, is that we are just being bullshitted into submission. we are being bullshitted and delayed into submission and not caring. It actually worked quite successfully with Tyson Fury, because there was that much smoke and mirrors and that much of a time delay and that many lies and counterclaims and whatever, and he said, she said, whatever, that people like me ended up just forgetting about it and letting Tyson Fury carry on his career. I think that people at Matchroom may well have seen that. And if they, like the question says, if they create enough smoke, then they're hoping that the issue will go away, and it might well do. I think they've been a little bit more quiet this week. So I think this is, pretty much 2 weeks since the news broke. The first week was wild in terms of Twitter activity and comments from and articles, but it's been a little bit quiet since then. Like I said on the pod a couple of weeks ago, there does appear to be only one man talking, and that's Mr. Edward Hearn. I think he's already pulled some kind of skullduggery tricks and, saying stuff like Dillian White's team are dealing with it, and, I'm the promoter and VADA testing. I'll just reiterate, I think that we're kind of in agreement on this forum that we think, and it appears, that he has failed an A sample, if you like. It's been brought up by the board, and I think they've absolutely bombarded them with VADA bullshit. And remember that VADA are being paid by those parties, Eddie and Dillian, and they've said it. They've tried to play it off as some sort of trace, or we've tested him 25 times and he's passed 24, and it's only a trace amount, and it could be cross contamination. I think they've bombarded them with stuff from a VADA perspective, and I think that the Board of Control have let it go ahead pending a B sample. We've already spoke about that at length. None of us particularly agree with it and think it's pretty disgusting. But as I have been doing in the chat, and I did the other week on the Sunday pod, got to play devil's advocate. Now, again, Edward's the only man who's been really talking about it, so I keep referring to him. But he is adamant in all interviews, and even the one where he called the bloke a clown. He keeps asking people. He's not being asked it himself, but he is asking it of others. Why was he cleared to fight? And that's a fair point. That is a fair point. We don't. I definitely don't know the answer to that, and we don't. But yeah, something has got to happen. Generally, it's an absolute mess. But yeah, so what if Dillian White's failed a test? He can just go and get a Malta license and fight, somewhere else, or whatever. I just think part of me, as I said a couple of weeks ago, just let them all get at it. I don't care. Someone will end up dying, and then they're going to have to sort it out, aren't they? It's a shame. It is a shame to say stuff like that, but that's what's going to happen. If it's not happened already, which is the scary part, I think it could have already happened. I think it quite well could have already happened. Either someone's been seriously injured, or worse, could have already happened by someone that was juicing, and only 2 or 3 people in the world will know, and they will be the guilty parties, and they'll have to take that with them. I don't know. I mean, what is the latest, Steve? I've not really looked at it this week.
I haven't heard anything, Smido. I haven't been following the videos. Something could have come out, and if there has, I haven't heard anything about it. It seems to be dragging on, this B sample. Have they tested it? Not to my knowledge. I don't think so.
The B sample is, like I said the other week, we have not heard the words. And again, there's only one man talking. We have not heard the words failed test or B sample. We haven't heard them words in Dillian White's statement, or the Boxing Board of Control, or of all these 10, 15, 20 interviews that Fastcar's done. We have not heard those words, B sample or failed test. We haven't heard those words. We think that that's what's happened, but we definitely don't know.
Yeah, everything, we're just asking questions, no allegations, just asking questions. One person who has weighed in is Eric Molina. You might have remember him fighting Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Well, he's actually been serving his own ban. 36-year-old Eric Molina was banned by UKAD for using an anti-inflammatory, which he says that he's been using throughout his whole career. It was found in his system. It was his first offence of any substance. It was an anti-inflammatory, and he's asking why did he get a 2-year ban when other guys have been caught using all sorts of things things like clenbuterol, steroids, and they've only had like 3 to 6 month bans. He said it makes no sense. It's what's wrong with boxing. I've never used a PED. He's been fighting over in America. UCAD have been pursuing him. There's a Fight Hype interview over there on YouTube if it's still up. It was brought to my attention during the week. I've watched it. He seems like a genuine guy to me. He seems quite emotional about the whole thing. UCAD are pursuing him financially. He said he wasn't going to pay. They tried to get his fight stopped over in America. He's managed to get fighting in Texas, and I believe that this guy does seem to be a victim of the system. Also, we had a message come in anonymously.
I think the fight in Texas no problem though.
On this very subject, Andy, he said Eric Molina pretty much nailed it on with his interview about UCAD and VADA. There's only one thing, both Eric Molina and Dillian White have now both alluded to Joshua getting away with UCAD. Would love to hear Dillian White being pushed on this should he get a 4-year ban. Also, it makes sense now as to why Joshua felt gassed in New York and why Ruiz isn't up for fighting here. So there's some... I don't know, UCAD don't say... Smido mentioned it before, Andy. UCAD, the whole Tyson Fury situation, talk about smoke and mirrors. I mean, we don't know what the hell's going on there. I really don't know what to think about the whole situation. But Eric Molina, if you watch the interview on Fight Hype, he paints a pretty bleak picture, and it sounds like UCAD have really been hounding this guy, and he sounds pretty genuine to me, like he hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, it's good that they're hounding him. I mean, how they're not hounding the rest of the drug cheats and stuff. I mean, Christ's sake, I mean... They had no problems bringing James Toney across, who I believe twice had failed drugs tests for steroids, and probably with a failed multiple brain scans. Christ, you hear him talk. To be honest, as I said at the time when this all broke at that last podcast, and that nobody comes out of this looking good. No White, certainly no Eddie Hearn, and certainly no UCAD for the way that they've actually handled this and that as well, because I think I said at the time, this has probably been the worst handled drug case that we know of, right? And I've got idiots saying to me on Twitter and stuff like that, for example, saying, that Andy Ruiz is a coward because he's not going to come to the UK and stuff. Well, fucking wait a minute. At least, we'll take Danny Garcia against Eric Morales as an example. Morales failed a drugs test. At least Danny Garcia got to find out about it. At least Danny Garcia was given the opportunity to decide if he wanted to go ahead with that fight, and he did. Fair play to the guy. It's just like Deontay Wilder against Alexander Povetkin. He had an option to go ahead with that fight. He didn't go ahead with it. Fair play to him. He made a stand. He took his own decision. But the cloak and mirrors, the cloak and dagger stuff that's been going on and stuff is absolutely deplorable. And I don't think everybody else has been saying it. To not have a guy who's competing against a guy who's failed a drugs test, know about it. It's absolutely deplorable. I mean, think about it. It could all have been kept quiet if it had been handled properly, right? At least give the guy an option, right? But as Toby Hines says and stuff like that, there is, the supplements that guy Dylan White's using, there is zero chance of it being cross contamination, zero chance according to him, because I think is it the way it's packed, Steve? Is it like bulk packed or whatever it is, and the company's very reputable or something?
Well, are they ever reputable?
Well, who knows? But that's what we've been told at least. But
yeah, okay. You see on Revis, Andy, I mean, this might sound like a really weird thing to say, but I'll just say it anyway. Do you think Revis is possibly in like a stronger position in terms of potential financial gain by not having been told? Because his reputation, it's repaired, it's enhanced. People look at him as having lost to a dirty fighter. He dropped him. He might get a no contest or a no decision if White gets to be done to be guilty. And just imagine, right, say if they'd have been told beforehand and Yvonne Michelle, Revis, Russ Amber, whatever, had said, you know what, I think we'll take the fight. They're going to offer us a load of money. We've been told beforehand. You know what would have happened now, wouldn't you? They'd be on all the videos saying, well, they were told and they still took it. You know what I mean? It would have sort of given the Matchroom side maybe a bit more of a get-out clause. I'm thinking maybe Revis might get a better deal now, having not been told, as strange as that might sound.
I don't mean obviously, they've lost the earnings. I mean, if think about it, if this had come out, it could be months before it come out, and then he might have been dropped in the rankings as a result of that defeat. I mean, he wasn't highly ranked. I mean, at the end of the day, as well as he came out of nowhere with the Brian Jennings one. I mean, he wasn't favourite to win it. He won the fight and he got the opportunity to fight Dillian White. He took it and they almost won it. But yeah, he's definitely. I mean, obviously his team's keeping quiet. They want to see how it's going to fold. How it's going to fall. The B sample has went very, very quiet. I think it's pretty much accepted that that's going to come back dirty, right? and then there's going to have to be answers to pay. But just to go back to the original point, it is a shame with Eric Molina and stuff like that. Because, well, I can't say it's a shame because I've not read about his case fully and stuff. You know, if it's anything like, for example, Alan Baxter, you know, people don't remember this guy. He was a Scottish downhill skier in the Winter Olympics, I think, back about 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and they won Olympic silver. And he took a Vicks nasal spray, right? But the thing is, he'd actually bought an American brand version of it. It was still named Vicks, but that had a banned substance in it compared to the British version.
That. Yeah.
And he tried forever. To get it overturned and over appealed and stuff like that, and they still refused to this day because there was a banned substance in it. Right now, as I says, I don't think ignorance is going to play any part, or it can't play any part this time, because you played the ignorance the last time, and you were told a year before to stop using what you were using the last time as well, and you still took it, and that's what you got popped on. So to me, I didn't know too much about Eric Molina situation.
Well, you know what? That is an interesting story, Andy, because it's very similar to the Baxter situation. Eric Molina said he took something that he always takes, but he took like the Mexican version, which he thought was the same, but it was slightly different, and he thinks that's what's tipped him over.
Right. See, if that's true, then you can understand a bit. What was the drug that he popped for again? What was it?
It was like an anti-inflammatory. I think it was like DB12 or something it was called. It was some kind of anti-inflammatory supplement. He said it wasn't like, like a steroid or a lung.
I was going to say,
it
could it been like a kind of corticosteroid that kind of like cyclists was used to kind of combat, like say, saddle sores, for example, but they actually use it for kind of doping purposes. I didn't know too much about it, mate, but if say he is being truthful and there's nothing wrong with that, it is an Alan Baxter case, and it sounds pretty much legit. Why did they go out the road to chase a guy when they should be spending more time and resources catching cheats in this country when you've got the power and the leeway? I mean, do you think if you knew, say, I don't know, say Lomachenko fails a drugs test when he comes out here, do you think they're going to be pursuing him, like if he goes to fight in Ukraine or something like that? Of course they're not. They're going to stay up and piss off. Fighting Russia, for example, they right to do that. I mean, as I say, there's no commissions really in America. Well, I suppose there will be a few aligned to the British board and stuff, but Texas, anything goes, baby. I mean, Christ, you know how drug testing happened with Andy Lee and Chavez was carried out.
Yeah, Christina McMahon as well.
Aye,
remember?
Shambles, absolutely. Aye, with the piss, with the holes in the bottom of the cup.
The hole in the bottom.
Shocking. Yeah, it's a sad situation, but for Molina, like if he's telling the truth, but I forget where we were at actually. If we're talking about White or whatever and that, mate. But
no, it's fine. For me personally, I just want to hear some answers, because we keep hearing them all the time. I can't say this or I can't say that because of legal reasons, or let's not jump to conclusions. Let's wait until all the facts come out. I heard Frank Smith saying that during the week. Well, I mean, certain facts come out quicker than others. The B sample hasn't been that speedy. But Sky Sports News, they suddenly sprung into action to tweet out that the VADA test was okay. How long, right, do we have to wait for these facts to come out? The Fury situation, that was 3 years ago. We still haven't got the full story. This is like Roswell, man. Are we going to have to wait another 50 years for disclosure? Are we going to see some grainy black and white footage of Dillian White lying on an autopsy slab? But I mean, Rob, we don't even know if it is Dillian. It might be Dean White.
We don't even know if he's Dean White, do we? I heard Frank Smith said it contained trace amounts of Clearasil.
Jesus Christ.
Don't know if there's any truth to that.
You've been watching Porky's videos too much, Rob. Right, go on, get weighed in on this one then. What's your thoughts and opinions before we go on to Bellew of the Week?
What are we talking about? Sorry.
Talking about Dillian White, all the facts that have come out this week and cleared this all up.
Yeah, I'm a lot wiser now. I'm glad Sky Sports tweeted that he passed the VADA test. I mean, we didn't know that the very second that this whole news broke. That was kind of the point, wasn't it, of him being cleared to fight, that he hadn't failed a VADA test. So I don't know. The suspicious part to me, and I think this is why they're scrambling. This is my opinion on it. It's all conjecture at this point, but my opinion on it is why they're scrambling is that, all right, he probably didn't dope for this camp, right? You can accept he probably didn't dope for this camp, or if he did dope for this camp, he was cycling off, right? And whatever amount or whatever is in his system is an adverse finding, right? Now, the B sample may come back clear. I don't think it's going to come back clear. I think it's going to come back with the same trace amount of whatever it is that he's been caught with. They said it was dianabol at the start. Eddie Hearn is adamant that that's not what he was popped for. But whatever he's been popped for is a remnant of something that he's taken before, right? So he's in a difficult position, because if that's the case, then he's been exposed as a drugs cheat, somebody who has been using performance enhancing drugs. And like I said before, I don't believe that Dillian White doesn't know what he's putting in his system. He talks very openly about using VADA. He talks very openly about wanting a certain time for camp when preparing for certain fighters, because he doesn't want them to have an unfair advantage. So with all this kind of paranoia and all this precautionary behaviour from White around PEDs, I find it's a very difficult sell for me to believe that he doesn't know what he's taking. And if that's why I believe they're scrambling and they're trying to say, oh look, well, they paid this money for VADA. VADA didn't test me, and this is a 1,000,000 to 1 chance, or whatever it is. Maybe it is, but it's shown like kind of somewhat similar to that John Jones incident in the UFC where, right, he had a metabolite activity or whatever it is. I'm a scientist all of a sudden from just fucking parroting shit that I see on YouTube. But, whatever it is that's reenacted the metabolite or whatever it is that's activated this substance in his system means that he was taking it before. For fuck's sake, you know what I mean? And this is the point that, that I think people are struggling with. They're like, wait till the facts come out. Wait till the facts come out. The facts are there's something in there that he shouldn't have been taking. You know what I mean? And they can say supplements and all that. That, like I said, I'm not buying it. He's listened to his previous interviews, listen to the rhetoric that's come out of Dillian White all the time. He's not a guy who's unaware of what you can and can't take, in my opinion. And that's really it.
That's it then, Rob?
Hashtag White's innocent.
Of course, apparently as well as that. According to me, well, I don't know. Should we say this actually? Steve,
I don't think we should. We should probably not say this part.
No.
I know what you're getting at there. Yeah.
No, maybe just leave it a bit quiet.
Wow, that is a bombshell, Andy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was,
bombshell.
Mate. It is. It's going to blow the lid off this place, man. It's going to get nuclear down here, baby.
We're going to get shut down on Mixler already.
Well, it's going to get nuclear like Dillian White's B sample, baby.
Yeah, I will say this, right? And I said this, when we didn't have the pod the other night, we're all devastated that Hangouts is gone. The more you kind of read into and research, and it doesn't take a genius or a fucking, somebody with a bachelor's degree to go and find out a little bit more about this. All you have to do is go on UCAD's website or VADA's website or research some of the articles that Hauser was talking about and try and, fact check them yourself, like with the resources that you have online. And the more you read into Floyd Mayweather's career, I mean, it's astounding. Like, it's astounding that this guy was paying, accusing Manny Pacquiao, probably rightly so, accusing Manny Pacquiao of using PEDs over the years, right? Whatever way you look at it. If you believe Paulie Malignaggi's side, Manny was juiced up to the eyeballs. Alex Ruiz, I believe, is a shady character. But I spoke about it before on the pod where I said, when he came out for the Pacquiao fight, and all of a sudden he's in 24/7 and he's chopping trees, and then he has this therapeutic use exemption and he comes to the ring looking like Action Man. But when you read back and you find out more and more that the way they cycle these things out is to take an anti-testosterone, to use a crude term, to balance out the testosterone in your body so that it doesn't pop. But if you have a negative testosterone level, that's proof that you've got your cycling wrong and you're more than likely masking something because you're under the natural levels of the testosterone that should be in your body. And that's happened with Mayweather twice in his career, and that can be checked and that can be fact proved. The fact that USADA tests were costing like whatever 30 grand or 40 grand and VADA were 15, but Floyd was paying him 160 grand. I mean, is it just safe to say at this stage, sorry I'm meandering around the point, but is it just safe to say at this stage that the entire sport is just completely contaminated from the top guys down?
Yes.
And it's just, is it getting to the point that we have to start discounting these guys as all-time greats and thinking of them more in the terms of cheats, like?
So statute of limitations and that as well. I mean, I don't know if like Floyd's and Manny's drug samples have been frozen and for how long they get frozen for, but it'll be interesting seeing, if they go back and test those samples with like new testing protocols, new testing procedures, and
this is
see what they find.
Well, this is it, and here's the other thing that's even more astonishing. This came from Hauser, I'm sure, as well at the time, but you forget about it over time. It's shit moves on, and there's so much headlines in boxing. We're covering so much, but Floyd wanted in the contract in the first place that if either of the two of them popped, that they didn't have to tell the other camp. And Manny wouldn't sign the contract on that basis.
Yeah.
And then they had the clause inserted that if somebody pops, you have to inform the camp. And they popped, for the saline solution, and then didn't inform Arum, our top rank, or Pacquiao's camp till 2 weeks after the fight.
Yeah, no same as this. If you are in so much need of an IV, you should be in the hospital.
Yeah, and like, what's the crack with this fella? Like, he walks around at 150 something pounds, and he needed an IV to fight a fella who's 2 weight classes smaller than him naturally. Mm-hmm. I mean, it all stinks, and all of them at this stage, you have to say, are doping. So, I mean, are they going to make an example of Dillian White? Is Dillian White going to be the one that causes some kind of reform in the sport? If so, and he is guilty, I'm all for it. One of them has to make a change. Like, one of these things has to happen where the promoters get together and.
Someone said that, mate. I forget who it was. It was on the pod the last time. Someone said, it was Danny Young. That's who it was. Someone needs to take the fall here. Someone's going to have to made an example of to say, here's what's happening.
Well, I believe that was going to be Big Baby Miller because it was so blatant when and it's like the HGH, the EPO, the trifecta. Like, he had everything in his system, but
he went all in, man. He went all in.
Yeah, and then you find out that the commissions in America, well, they don't really have independent doping, and he wasn't being tested, and we might not renew his license, but give him 6 months and he'll be back in the ring again. And it's just like, holy shit! Like, if they don't make an example out of him, and shit just keeps moving, and not only keeps moving, if the rumors were supposed to be true, he was going to be in line for a shot at Fury, except there was so much backlash towards it.
Joke.
So. Somebody has to pay the price at this stage. We're just getting sick of it. Like, there's a reason that boxing historians and boxing purists look to fighters of the past as well. They could say for whatever way they might have been cheating with the mob or with the gloves or whatever, they weren't fucking taking heads anyway. You know what I mean? So it's tough. Like, it's a tough time to be a boxing fan, to be honest with you.
Can you imagine if Loma or Usyk pops to positive or Inoue, for me, example, I'll be on my knees crying.
That's what I said. If Loma or Bud Crawford pop, then I could be out for good. I could be just like, fuck this sport. I'll watch the old fights, like, because this is a joke. But what's interesting is Lomachenko was on that list of fighters who wasn't voluntarily on the WBC list as well, right? And you're looking at a guy like, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but you're looking at a guy like Pascal who was on the slide and getting thumped around the place, and he was removed from the list a year ago of people who could be in the WBC rankings because he wouldn't agree to year-round testing. And then we see him bouncing Michael Brown off the canvas unexpectedly at the weekend a couple of times in the best nick of his life, by the way. Like, this is a guy who probably hit his prime. He fought Frotz the same night Amir Khan fought Oisin Fagan, and I couldn't tell you what year that is. I think that's about 2009, 2008. Yeah. So this is 11 years later, and he's thumping the prospect after dropping out of voluntary VADA testing, or being, he's saying to the testers, "No, you can't test me year round." And Loma was in that group too. So I don't know what's. And who was the other one that was in the group?
I've got a list. I've got a list somewhere, but I don't know. But we've got to give Canelo some credit. He is apparently paying for his testing, and he's been clean for as far as we know for the last year. So we know that much at least.
Yeah, well, I mean, his reputation was on the line, and a $370,000 fucking television deal that might make him go clean. You know what I mean? But what did he use to get there? That's the other thing. True. Do you know what I mean?
And he, as you say, he's cheated the weight for years anyway as well.
Big time, massively.
Top of the sport, though, innit? The more money you got, the more options, and
that's the thing, mate. Because as I say, I've said it before. They've got access to the designer gear or the chemists who can make the stuff that's untraceable or undetectable for a few hours or whatever. That could be your system and stuff. Or they've got the money to pay guys to beat the tests. It just takes one slip up. I mean, as I say, all saying is this: AG's never failed a test. Well, Lance Armstrong never failed a drugs test either. And then he's considered the biggest drugs cheat of, like, say, definitely the cycling world and stuff like that. But that's been ongoing for years. But didn't he say to me that he's never failed a drugs test and stuff like that? The eye test tells you, he's. I'm not wanting to get into it again, but it's just the sport, as I say, is
Well, Well, there was three. Like I said, there was three blatant ones that were off that list that were champions at the time, and the three at the time were Anthony Joshua, Canelo, and Lomachenko, and Lomachenko, and Canelo popped, right? So then that's another way of even looking at it. The guy that has the biggest, highest paid deal in the sport has popped. You know what I mean? And they all right, they exonerated him on the hair sample or whatever. But that whole situation was a mess as well. And he's the biggest earner in the sport. So what does it say about the rest of them? You know, It's tough. It is tough on us, like because there's times, like I said before, we're like one of those battered wives that their husband keeps having an affair, and you just keep turning a blind eye to it because we keep covering boxing, you know, with the same enthusiasm, and we forget these guys can be juiced to the eyeballs, like they're cheats. Like
it's probably going to be like the Fury situation, isn't it? It's like, you know, they're going to get strung out for the duration, and you can't be put in a position where they can't afford to pursue it any fucking further through the courts or whatever and stuff like that. And in the end, it'll be status quo. And you know, and again, it makes a whole mockery of the whole drug testing situation, stuff like that, when you've got a government agency or a government-funded agency running the national fucking drug testing in this country, right, for every single sport, and they can't get it right. They still can't. This is what happens when you get governments involved. Right, they can't fucking run anything properly because it's fucking lack of funding, this, lack of staff, that, and everything just gets fucked.
If the promoters were serious about it and they really wanted to do it, they could do it. They could have a gentleman's agreement if they agree on nothing else, is that anyone who gets popped is not fighting for us, and that'd put a stop to it straight away because nobody could get a contract anywhere. That's, you know what I mean. It's as simple as that. The commissions are not going to act on it. Sanctioning bodies are not going to act on it. The promoters have to say, all right, these guys are our bread and butter. We make our living off of these fellas risking their lives. So we have a moral duty to keep the sport clean, and we're gonna not work with drug cheats. That's all I have to say. They can get up in arms. Eddie can get up in arms and start pointing fingers in the US. Frank can start pointing fingers at Eddie, but they're all as fucking guilty as each other until they get together and do something about it. Like,
but then Rob, we're gonna have only if you knowingly cheat.
Yeah, but that's the shit that they're doing at the moment. Yeah, knowingly. If you purposely did it, like if you got contaminated or whatever, if you got contaminated and unlucky, take up the UFC.
Who's going to admit to knowingly cheating, man?
Nobody ever has, apart from Big Baby, and that's because he got caught red-handed. Like,
yeah, the trifecta. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's it.
Serafina tried to bail him out.
But if that was the case where they could agree on that, even in the UK on a trial, say Frank and Eddie say any fighters we have get popped, can't get a contract between the two of us. I'm not going to put them on because Frank was talking about it, and his point was like, well, you know, they're licensed. I'm not in charge of the licensing, so if they're licensed to fight and they don't sign with me, they're going to sign with someone else. It's not good enough. Like, not good enough. But anyway.
No, I'm just checking to see if Serafina's still about. I haven't seen her tweeting for a while, but she is indeed still there. Serafina_GCP, everybody. Go and follow her. She hasn't been around since May, so I don't know what's going on with old Sarah. Right, let's get on to Belly of the Weeks. Thank you to the boys for sticking with us, Adam, Rob and Andy. Just before we do so, Box Royalty sent in an interesting one. He said, a bit of humour for the pod. Brendan Schaub, I know we've mentioned him before, referred to Eddie Hearn this week as the Kevin Spacey of boxing promoters. I'm sure Eddie will be pleased to hear that.
He's a gay lord who likes to molest people on toilets, stuff like
that. The Kevin Spacey
even of boxing
promoters.
Even Eddie.
According to
Kevin Spacey, what kind of fucking... What?
I'm sure he meant well.
Even Eddie.
Blowing my mind.
The Jimmy Savile of matchmakers.
What kind of fucking obscure fucking comparison is that, though? The Kevin Spacey. Who's Frank Warren and the Nick Nolte? What the fuck is that? Like, that's a fucking weird comparison, isn't it? Like,
Box Royalty picked up on that one. Let's go on to the Belly of the Weeks and finish up then. Thanks for the boys for their time. Who's jumping in there? Sorry.
Rob, did you get your man okay? Rob.
Sorry, what was that, dude?
Did you get your man okay? Aye.
No, I'm going to actually, momentarily, any second now.
Just in time for Belly of the Weeks. Let us start with Big Right Hook. Quite a few people nominated this, including Prime Tyke Myson. Big Right Hook likes your conspiracy theory. He'd been on the pod before. He said maybe, just maybe, Suleiman is bribing the drug testers to make sure Deontay Wilder's fighters show up positive so he doesn't have to fight them and he can keep the WBC belt in the USA for more money. I'm not saying it's likely, but ellipsis. So there you go, Big Right Hook thinks that there's a conspiracy going on. We were supposed to have Terry Dooley on Sunday, but he couldn't make it anyway, even though we weren't on Hangouts. Sean Stevenson has nominated David Conlon, at David Conlon, 1987. This was a good one. He was replying to the Michelle Phelps article. Terry wrote it in Boxing News about Michelle Phelps, about sexism, dealing with the press, all this type of stuff. David Conlon says, "Ignore them. You just be you and ignore them and get me ring piece tickets."
Dirty bastard.
Autocorrect's a bastard at times, says Sean Stevenson. David Conlon after ring piece tickets. God. Maybe it's the latest use of Mac Blockbuster, who knows.
Toss my salad.
Brian King has nominated Todd Grisham. Todd says, "Not many promoters would say their own fighter should be banned from boxing. Props to Eddie Hearn. Let's hope for all involved that White is indeed found to be innocent." Lukey Boxing isn't innocent, he's guilty of a Bellew of the Week nomination. He said Jose Ramirez is top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. Alright then, Lukey, we shall take your word for that one. Box Royalty has nominated VADA Testing. VADA congratulates Dillian White, Oscar Kaboom, etc. for successfully completing their programme. I know you saw that one as well, Andy, on July the 20th. Chad Hogan has nominated the Boxing Feed. I've had to call quite a few, obviously, guys, because we don't want to be on here all night. Always had faith in Dillian White passing his VADA drugs test, one of the realest fighters in the division, and now he'll finally get his shot at the WBC belt. Let's go, baby. Let's go. #boxing, says the Boxing Feed. Don't really know the Boxing Feed, knows too much about the process, but they think it's all back on for Dillian anyway. Good luck to them on that. Editing King, still going strong, has nominated Marcos Villegas. He does the scoring for PBC. Eddie Hearn, 2019 Promoter of the Year. This guy, the deals this guy has signed, and power moves. Jesus man, says Marcos. He's a big fan of Eduardo. Shout out to Danny Young and all the boys in the chat, by the way. Got about 4 or 5 in a vibrant chat. Maybe whenever this gets going on Sunday evening, we'll have a few more in. Declan Graffin has nominated Lewis Ritson and Robbie Davis for their backstage verbals. Also, Chad Hogan has nominated Jake Donovan. My apologies for the last tweet, says Jake, who announced that Paddy Gallagher had beaten Chris Jenkins by TKO. The power went out due to the storms in my area right at the end of the fight, with the announcers suggested there was a TKO win for Paddy Gallagher, hence my tweeted response. Didn't see until after the power was restored that it went to the scorecards. #L, nomination for Jake. Dave Caldwell been nominated by Brian King as well for congratulating Anthony Fowler on his win. Mark Lovell has nominated friend of the pod Lucas Brown. I'm a chameleon, says Lucas. I am everything all at once. I am who I have always been, but I am evolving, getting better and getting wiser. I don't know, says Mark Lovell, how going from beating Chagayev to getting KO'd by Dave Allen fits into that theory. Nomination for Bellew of the Week for old Big Daddy Brown. Jake Winterbottom has nominated Matchroom Boxing. A potential fight between Davis and Ritson is brewing. Simply retweet for a chance to win the signed dressing room signs from last night's show in Liverpool. So retweet to win signed Ritson and Davis dressing room signs. I'm sure the retweets were flying in for that one. Tommy Cahill was amongst many other people who nominated the Irish Examiner, their sports section. Carl Frampton forced to cancel his Philadelphia bout after a freak accident, and then they put up a picture of Martin Murray. They haven't deleted it, so no fucks given from the Irish Examiner. Shout out to them. Kevin Byrne, as well, friend of the pod, has nominated David Ball. He was responding to Andy Ruiz. Last time we English came to Mexico, Kirtland Lang schooled some Duran bloke for 15 rounds, winning easily in front of 100,000 crying Mexicans. Careful what you wish for, champ. Enjoy your burrito, amigo.
Eh? Is that a fight fucking in Detroit or something like that? That fight was in America.
I'm going to have to read that again. I did the spelling makes it as well, man. David Ball. Last time we English came to Mexico, Kirk and Lang schooled some Duran bloke for 15 rounds, winning easily in front of 100,000 crying Mexicans. Careful what you wish for, champ. Enjoy your burrito, amigo.
Careful what you fucking wish for. What a tadger, man. I've just pulled up Duran's record here. I'm just trying to find that fight. Give me a second here. What the fuck is it again? Kirtland Lang. It was actually a 10-rounder. The fight, I was right. It was in Detroit, Kobe Hall. It's a 10-rounder. Fucking dick.
David Ball, Andy, at DJ Ball, LLTFC 75. So 3 L's for David, quite literally. Quite literally 3 L's for him. That's a front runner for you. Any nominations, Andy, you want to throw in?
Oh, sorry, but none for me. I gave the ones that I sent in. But yeah, is it David? I think he's an early front runner. Like maybe Spencer Fearon as well. He still seems to be. Did he not get in touch with Babs and he says to Babs and that when they passed the when they came out that Sky Sports reported that he'd passed the VADA test and stuff like that. But he was fucking Spencer's out there tweeting and stuff like that. He passed the test and everybody's like, yeah, we told you he'd passed stuff like that. And every other fucker's like, B sample, UCAD, what the fuck's happening? Maybe Spencer, but no, David's a good one.
Definitely throw Spencer in. Rob has left us. Smidow's still with us. Smidow, you're liking the Irish Examiner one. I'm sure you're liking the boxing feed as well. Lukey Boxing, strong week.
I really like the Examiner one because I saw it live, as in when it went out, it appeared on my feed, and I just thought it was top class. And like you say, Steve, the fact that it's still there, I mean, it's just they just really don't care. I think that it's one of them. If they've noticed that in the office and someone said, "Hey, look, you fucked that up," and someone's just said, "Oh, just leave it up there anyway for a laugh." I kind of hope that. Yeah, I kind of hope that's how it's happened. We're talking about them. All publicity is good publicity.
It certainly is, especially for David Conlon. I liked him. He was saying to Michelle Phelps to ignore the haters and get me some ring piece tickets. The question is, what's he been writing about ring pieces for? Because the autocorrect always comes up on previous suggestions, doesn't it? So there you go, David Conlon. Goodness knows what's going on in his house. I think you're right though, Andy. Has to be David Ball, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Kevin Byrne's nomination. I think we'll go for him, shall we, Smido? Nomination for David Byrne all in. David Byrne,
I like
David
the Examiner.
Ball, in fact, sorry. Oh, you like the Examiner? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll give them both an award. We'll give Mr. Ringpiece an award as well. That's the type of guys we are. Let's get out of here. We've kept the boys for long enough. Thank you to everybody who's listening and for keeping with us. For now on, it's going to be mixler.com/Boxing Asylum live. We'll keep putting it up on YouTube. We'll keep putting it on the Patreon feed, and we'll keep putting it on iTunes. We will not be defeated. Episode 334. Back on Sunday, 8 o'clock. Andy, you reckon things have gone well tonight? You happy with your performance?
No, not really, mate. I've been kind of off the boil. Yeah, this will up our game for Sunday when we've got the alcohol flowing and stuff like that. It's a school night, you know.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Smido? Quite literally Skyping it in?
I've actually done a fair bit of work while I've been on this evening, so yeah, working from home is a dream. I'll be up at 5:30 tomorrow morning. I'll be on me push bike about 5:45. Can't wait.
Excellent, good man. Thanks to Danny, thanks to Boxing News TV, everybody in the chat. The chat will be thriving on Sunday. Rob, Andy and Adam have all been on with us tonight. I've been Steve Wellings. See you all again, same place, same time next week. Bye.
Peace.